A former Starbucks employee and former McDonald's employee reveal secret ways they punish rude customers. Taco Bell had to explain what really happened with their shells. One employee at a Papa Murphy's put pizza in a place it doesn't belong, and many other shocking employee behaviors have been caught.
There was a lot more in the bottom of the cup.
We have the full kettle, and it's about to spill. Having someone else prepare a meal for you is a luxury many of us don't really think about. Even if you're going to a local fast food joint, you can get a meal without having to worry about cooking or cleaning. When we order food, we put a lot of trust in the people making it. We expect them to prepare our food correctly and safely. So when footage leaks of our food being tampered with, it causes a lot of distrust and concern. In June 2021, an ex-Starbucks barista went viral for posting a now private TikTok where he admitted he would sometimes give customers decaf coffee when he felt like it.
It's 100% true. I worked at Starbucks for 2 years. I decafed so many rude people. I would decaf people just if I felt like it.
His video was posted in response to another barista's video where she claimed she would give decaf to rude customers. He made his video to confirm what the barista said was true. He also added it bothered him when customers would pronounce croissant with a French accent, and that would also lead to them getting decaf coffee. He claimed he wouldn't do it to people who he assumed spoke French as their native language. He would only allegedly do it to people who didn't appear to speak French. Some customers told him to do his job properly or get a new job. The TikToker responded to one comment saying he hadn't worked there in 5 years.
Haha, joke's on you. I don't work there. It's been like 5 years. I would have decafed your ass too, bitch. But you probably get strawberry frappuccinos. Because you're a child, you're a literal child.
In a follow-up video, the TikToker clarified he would only give the decaf to people who were and claimed if people were nice, they would get what they ordered. They also tried to clarify their video was a joke.
Hey, so for anybody new here today, I do comedy. I make jokes, not controversial jokes. So why is everybody mad about a joke about Starbucks?
They called out one user for calling them a sociopath.
Yeah, this guy's a total sociopath. Did you hear?
He gave people decaf coffee at Starbucks.
That's worse than murder. That's worse than racism. That's worse than anything.
They called people who got offended stupid and decided to give a lesson on how caffeine affects your body.
First off, you're all stupid if you're mad. It was a joke. Second off, there are 0 medical conditions that require you to have coffee. 0. No medical conditions require you to have coffee. Not like everybody was saying they have headaches, they need coffee. No. There are these things in your body called adenosine receptors. They get blocked by caffeine. Those receptors keep your arteries open. With them blocked, they close. In your brain, when they close, if you have a headache, you might feel relief for a short amount of time because your arteries compressed. There's a little bit more room for inflammation. But then when the inflammation goes back out, you have a headache. Second, the heart. Caffeine is not good for your heart in any situation. If you have heart issues, it's the same thing. Your receptors get blocked, your arteries close, your body starts to overcompensate. It's not good for your heart. You don't drink coffee if you have heart issues. There is only one sort of headache, a hypnic headache, that is common among elderly people that doctors will suggest, not prescribe, that you drink 1 cup before bed. That's it. Otherwise, you get ergotamine. It's a medicine. A lot of times it has caffeine mixed into it. The ergotamine keeps your receptors open so your arteries stay open so your blood flows well, and the caffeine helps the blood flow. They work together as opposed to the caffeine just closing your arteries.
They also called out a writer for the Daily Dot.
Samira, a writer for the Daily Dot, wrote an article about it, and she cut the joke in half to make it seem serious to scare old people online. Samira, you are a joke of a journalist.
They ended their TikTok rant by thanking the people who followed them. Giving customers the wrong order isn't the only way to tamper with food. There are other, more gross ways to do it. In September of 2018, an employee at Comerica Park, a ballpark in Michigan, was caught on camera spitting into the pizzas as he made them. The employee had told his coworker he was going to spit in the pizza, so his coworker filmed it to show their boss, and the video later surfaced online. Detroit Sports Service, the company that caters the park, said the food station was shut down as soon as they learned about the food tampering. They claimed to have thrown away all of the food and contacted the police department. They said police told them the worker had been arrested and charges were pending. The employee was immediately terminated, and the company said they planned to pursue legal action. The worker was facing 2 counts of food law violations. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of each felony and misdemeanor food violations. He was sentenced to 18 months of probation, ordered to attend anger management classes, and continue with therapy. Our favorite fast food restaurants can easily become targets too. In February 2021, KTNV Channel 13 in Las Vegas reported on Cynthia Bear, a woman who claimed a McDonald's employee spit in her food. She ordered a sugar-free French vanilla iced coffee after receiving some rude service from the employee. When she reached the bottom of her iced coffee, she noticed a slimy texture in her drink.
That's definitely not coffee. I could see there was a lot more in the bottom of the cup.
She believed it was bodily fluids that came from the employee who was rude to her. She said she immediately called McDonald's to report her drink had been tampered with, but said the person on the phone didn't believe her or seemed to care. The person on the phone asked for her to bring in the cup with the saliva along with pictures. An insurance adjuster checked the security footage, and the employee admitted to tampering with Cynthia's drink. Cynthia said it felt like a threat to her life, and was especially concerned since the employee is a frontline worker who is at high risk for COVID. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Asher Shazad said, "It's unacceptable and absolutely it's reckless. If you check anybody's saliva, you will probably find no less close to 50 or maybe 100 or maybe thousands of germs right at that moment." Cynthia tested positive for COVID 5 days later, but there's no way of knowing if it was from the coffee. Cynthia said she was offered 2 free value meals from the McDonald's corporate office, and an insurance company offered her a $500 settlement, which she declined, calling it a slap in the face. The owner of the McDonald's sent a statement into the news. "When we learned of the incident, we took the appropriate steps necessary to investigate the matter and immediately contacted local health authorities. The employee in question is no longer with our organization. We have apologized to the customer in this unacceptable incident and are taking action to ensure that this doesn't happen again." Food safety consultant Tim Molson has worked for the McDonald's Corporation for 25 years as the director of training development. He said he was shocked by the incident. "McDonald's has got probably the best training system in the world. To have something like this sneak through there's no excuse for it." He said McDonald's doesn't allow their employees to eat or drink near food prep stations, and there's no excuse for something like this to have happened. This isn't the only time McDonald's has had an issue with food tampering. In 2020, a McDonald's employee from Bakersfield, California, faced a felony charge of willfully poisoning food after she allegedly spit into a police officer's burger and wiped the bun on the floor. Surveillance footage from November 2019 showed the employee wiping her mouth with her arm, supposedly after she spit into the burger, according to Kern County District Attorney Gina Pearl. Another employee claimed to have heard her drawing saliva into her mouth in preparation for spitting. A felony charge was presented against them for not alerting supervisors or stopping the action from taking place, but it was later dropped. According to the testimony, she had shouted, "The pigs." She knew the uniformed police officer would be the one to receive the burger and disliked law enforcement after a situation in 2018 where she claimed she was a victim of police brutality. There was uncertainty in the court whether or not saliva could be considered a harmful substance. In California, spitting on someone's food and similar acts can get someone charged with battery. Under California Penal Code Section 242, battery is defined as any willful and unlawful use of force or violence upon another person. The punishment for a battery conviction is punishable by up to 6 months in county jail and a $2,000 fine. It is unclear if the officer who ate the burger tested positive for any harmful diseases. The employee pled no contest to the misdemeanor, which means she does not agree with the charge but will accept the punishment. Sometimes, food tampering can go viral for being gross. In 2012, a photo was posted to the popular message board 4chan of a Burger King employee with his feet in the lettuce container. The 4chan users were able to trace the photo to Mayfield Heights, Ohio within minutes. They called the location and sent the photo to local news outlets. Brian Thornton, the director of global communications for Burger King, confirmed the photo was taken at a Burger King location, but claimed the location was independently owned by a franchisee. The franchisee has taken swift action to investigate this matter and terminated the 3 employees involved in the incident. Burger King claims to maintain a zero-tolerance policy for employees violating their strict food handling procedures. While not all food tampering is malicious, even pranks drinks should be taken seriously when it comes to health and safety. In 2009, a video posted to YouTube by Domino's pizza employees Christy Hammonds and Michael Setzer went viral for all the wrong reasons. The video showed Michael preparing sandwiches for delivery while Christy narrated. While preparing sandwiches, Michael is shown putting cheese up his nose, pretending to sneeze on the food, and violating other health code standards. The pair were charged with delivering prohibited foods. They told Domino's executives they never actually delivered the tainted food, but they were still fired and taken into police custody. Domino's brought in the local health department and had to dispose of hundreds of dollars of food. The video was a huge blow to Domino's reputation. According to research firm YouGov, people's perception of Domino's food quality went from positive to negative. Paul Gallagher, managing director and head of the United States crisis practice at the public relations firm Burson Marsteller, called the Domino's situation a nightmare. It's the toughest situation for a company to face in terms of a digital crisis. Domino's decided not to respond aggressively and created a Twitter account in order to address the situation and answer questions customers may have. Domino's isn't the only pizza chain to have dealt with unsanitary employees. In 2014, a Papa Murphy's employee was charged with knowingly or intentionally tampering with a consumer product. However, this type of tampering was very different from Domino's. Instead of sneezing on the pizza, he rubbed his genitals on it, and the customer caught him in the act. When he was caught, he immediately apologized, admitted his actions were wrong, and the police were called. The employee later apologized to his manager and said he committed the act because the customer placed the order close to closing time. When asked if he would have served the pizza if he hadn't been caught, he said, "Probably. That's the terrible part." According to the complaint in court, Austin could have caused serious bodily harm with the sweat and bodily fluids that could have gotten on the food. The Smoking Gun reported that Austin's second-degree felony was later downgraded to a misdemeanor charge of violating the health and safety code of Texas. Putting bodily fluids into food is downright disgusting, yet it continues to happen. In 2011, Albuquerque grocery store worker was accused of handing out yogurt tainted with bodily fluids. He admitted to releasing the fluids on a spoon before putting it into the yogurt and offering the sample to a female shopper. The woman said she tasted the yogurt and spit on the floor, even wiping her tongue with her garment to get the taste out of her mouth. Police took a spit sample from the floor and traced it to the store worker. The store worker later pled guilty to charges of adulterating food and making false statements to federal investigators. He was facing up to 3 years of imprisonment, followed by 3 years of supervised release. In 2012, he was sentenced to 2 years in prison. A similar story happened in Pennsylvania in early 2012 when Joseph Bartillo was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison and $3,600 in fines after he injected his bodily fluids into containers of yogurt several times. Joseph was formerly employed at Procter & Gamble, which is where the crimes were committed. The next story comes from our favorite taco place. Taco Bell had its share of downright gross behavior when they released a photo competition for employees. One Taco Bell employee joined the competition with a photo licking an entire stack of taco shells. The employee was promptly fired, according to a now deleted statement from Taco Bell. "We do not believe these employees harmed or intended to harm anyone. The behavior is unacceptable for people working in a restaurant. Our franchisee is responsible for the employment and conduct of his restaurant's employees, and he has informed us that he immediately suspended the employee shown in the photo and is in the process of terminating his employment. The employee who took the photo no longer works there." Taco Bell explained the history behind the shells. The shells in the photo were in the process of being thrown out after being used for training, and they wouldn't have been served to customers. The employee had taken the photo for a Taco Bell contest where employees could upload photos of themselves trying the new product. However, this employee had broken Taco Bell policy and uploaded the photo to his personal social media, where it went viral. The photo has since been removed. Tampering with food isn't a joke, as we've seen. Sometimes it can get very sinister. In June 2021, Nicholas R. Mitchell was indicted on 2 counts of tampering with a consumer product. He was arrested in October 2020 after police received reports that customers have found razor blades and metal pieces in pizza dough sold at supermarkets. He wanted revenge on the company after being fired as a forklift operator. Surveillance videos showed Nicholas approaching the pizza dough in store and handling multiple bags of it for an extended period of time. The razor blades were found in the dough packages that were handled by Nicholas. The dough company have also received customer reports of metal pieces and screws found in their dough. However, they didn't report it to law enforcement as they were still investigating, as none of their food preparation equipment used screws. They were also investigating Nicholas as he had left threatening phone calls after his termination. The grocery chain the dough was sold at has made improvements to prevent something like this from happening again. Nicholas agreed to plead guilty in exchange for certain reductions in sentencing. He is still awaiting sentencing. These stories show that food tampering isn't isolated to just fast food joints and restaurants, but that we need to be careful when grocery shopping as well. In 2008, an unemployed chemist went into grocery chains Tesco and Morrison's and sprayed foods with a mixture of bodily waste. He also sprayed the mixture on children's books and in a local pub to cause extra panic. His rampage cost £700,000 in damages. Police also searched his home and found plans to use the spray in a number of other cities. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison and was deemed a very high risk to public safety. The judge said if she could have jailed him indefinitely, she would have. Proceedings had begun to deport Sanoun to his home country of Algeria, but as of 2017, he remained in the UK. His legal battle to stay in the UK has cost taxpayers £250,000. Food tampering is an international practice, from North America to Europe and even Asia. Eating out can be an addiction, but some restaurants in China took the addiction a little too literally. In 2016, dozens of Chinese restaurants were busted for serving noodles, hot pot, grilled fish, and fried chicken seasoned with opium poppies, which are possibly addictive. The China Food and Drug Administration said in a statement that 35 restaurants were under investigation and 5 had already been prosecuted at the time. The derivatives they detected in the food were morphine and codeine. Poppy additives have been banned in China since 2013. However, it isn't uncommon for cooks to sprinkle poppies in food for seasoning. In 2014, a noodle vendor was detained for 10 days after authorities found he was adding powdered poppy plant to his food. The poppy was discovered after a man was pulled over and tested positive for after eating the noodles. Food isn't the only consumable in our lives that gets tampered with. In 1982, several people died after taking Tylenol that was laced with cyanide, a highly toxic chemical. Since there is no crime scene or known motive, this case remains one of the biggest unsolved cases in the US. It has had more than 100 investigators, more than 6,500 leads, and 400 possible suspects. When the cyanide was discovered, Tylenol was pulled from shelves and its stock market share dropped significantly. The case's only significant arrest was James W. Lewis, a former tax consultant who was charged with extortion and served 11 years in prison. He sent a letter to Tylenol demanding $1 million, claiming he could stop more people from losing their lives. Authorities have never been able to connect him with the Tylenol tampering, and no charges have ever been filed specifically about the tampering. In the months after the Tylenol tampering, there were over 270 cases of suspected product tampering in the US. After the incident, Tylenol switched to tamper-proof packaging. However, in 1986, a woman named Diana Ellsworth died after taking cyanide-laced Tylenol. Her case is still unsolved. So, how can we protect ourselves from food tampering? For businesses, they can invest in tamper-proof seals. Consumers want to know that their food has been delivered safely with limited contact from other people, especially during the pandemic. Restaurant Business Online recommends TamperSeal labels, which are labels for the food with slits on either side, so if someone tries to open the container, the seal breaks and it's obvious the food has been tampered with. For consumers, the New York Department of Health recommends purchasing food from only reputable vendors, being familiar with the foods you purchase, prepare, and serve, and examine foods for any strange appearance, shape, or odor. It's also important to check the tamper seals to make sure there isn't any damage to it or that it hasn't been tampered with. If you find your food is damaged, dirty, or missing safety protocols, don't eat it and return it to the place where it was purchased. It's also important to report any suspicious food or vendors you find to your local health department. We've seen with these stories how dangerous and disgusting food tampering can be, so it's important to look out for ourselves when purchasing food. How do you feel about these situations? Have you ever been a victim of food tampering? Let me know in the comments below.